the Artist Interrogations podcast.
Oh my gosh, man.
Oh, sorry about that.
No, it was on my end. My computer just all of a sudden crashed out completely.
Oh, we can do. Well, here we are.
So, sorry about that, man. Hey,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
no, dude, you're all good, man. I know you're a busy guy, getting ready for the big
Oh,
upcoming.
yeah. I know. There's a lot going on. Oh, boy, oh, boy. Yeah.
I'm just stoked you took a few minutes to chat with me today, man. I'm a long time, just huge fan. As I was getting ready to talk with you, throwing together some notes, I just really got thinking about how many times over the years I have just sat down and fired up Metalocalypse and just watched it for hours and hours and hours as one of my all-time favorite shows, man. And it's just so cool that I get to chat with you.
Oh, awesome. Well, it's nice to hear. It's nice to be here. Where am I? Where am I? I know who you are.
Coming
You're
at you from Idaho Falls, Idaho.
Oh, yeah. Okay, good. Good to be here. Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, so as a metalhead out here in the middle of nowhere, man. I mean, anything we could do to keep ourselves entertained when we were younger. Metalocalypse, when that came along, I mean, as somebody who grew up on Beavis and Butthead and South Park, Beavis and Butthead shaped my musical taste, I'm sure, in a lot of ways. And to see I mean, Beavis and Butthead was a pretty metal cartoon, but when Metalocalypse came along, man, the ultimate metal cartoon that we could have ever asked for.
Yeah, well, I'm just like you. I grew up in the middle of nowhere. I grew up in Salinas, California, and there was nothing to do there but play your guitar and to try to save up your money for a guitar instructional video and hang out with your stupid friends. And I always thought, that age of discovering music when I was like 14, 15, that was such an important part of my life, and I think it is for a lot of people who like music. When you're kind of carving out your identity through the choices you make in music. And when I was discovering, Metallica, Guns N' Roses, and then like Cannibal Corpse and then like Yngwie and Satriani and Vi, like all that guitar and all that stuff and all that heavy stuff and Sabbath and all that. That was such an exciting part of discovery. And it really, really just electrified my brain. And I thought I'd like to do a show for that guy who's like about to get into that world. So that's what I was thinking. That's the audience, and that's who I was kind of playing to, is me when I was 14, discovering, comedy and music and Monty Python and funny stuff that was happening. And just, I loved movies, I loved comedy, and I loved guitar. And how do you wad that all up into one place?
Well, you did an excellent job with it, man. I remember the first time I saw a Metalocalypse episode. Well, vaguely remember, but I remember the feeling the first time I saw a Metalocalypse episode. And, back then, I think metal wasn't as, I want to say it wasn't as cool as it is now. Metal's kind of had a nice little resurgence, in my opinion, in recent years. And, you're seeing a lot of bands breaking through into big arenas and things like that. Bands like Ghost, up and coming bands like Bad Omens and Sleep Token. You really, I think when I was younger, felt like a lot more of an outsider with metal. And so to see something popping up on Adult Swim that was just so metal, it was just so cool, man. And shows like that and Beavis and Butthead, I think, are just so excellent for the metal community because they have to draw new, younger fans into the drama or into the
Yeah. I hear you. Yeah.
um
Yeah, I hear you.
when
Yeah.
and you mentioned the artists that you were into growing up. Finally got my notes back up on the crashed computer. Did you ever envision that a cartoon you would be throwing together would end up putting you in a live setting where, I mean, some of the guys you're playing with in the live Dethklok band, I mean, these are some world-class musicians.
Oh,
man.
yeah. They're nuts. I don't know that you can. I don't know if there's such thing as the best, but seriously, Gene Hoglan is maybe the most he is seriously one of the greats that's on this planet playing drums, and I get to play with him, and he gets this, and it's really like, it is not lost on me I am very thankful that I have the band that I have and the crew that I have and the kind of infrastructure to put this whole thing together because yeah, that is a big part of it. But yeah, the idea is yes, back then when I was putting this whole project together, I thought, here's what I'm going to do. If I can muster the energy, I'm going to do this really complicated project that is both a comedy project with characters and a bonkers big world that I have to really think about it and sort out. And even though it's crazy and absurdist, I still have to have some kind of logic that unites everything and a direction that it's going. And I have to have music that's basically an excuse to try to write something that I think I would listen to. Even if it's funny, even if it's like, it's somewhat self-serious and somewhat deadpan comedy on top of it. So that's the whole idea. So I knew that like way back when I thought this is going to be complicated. I'm going to have to sit behind my guitar forever and I'm going to have to sit behind a typewriter forever. So I'll have to sort all this stuff out. And then at some point, I'm going to go on the road. I'm going to have to get a real drummer. I'm going to have to get a real band to play because if I do this, I would do it to picture. I would do it kind of like the Gorillaz did, but it'd be more intense and funnier and more explosive and more energetic and insane. And that's what I wanted to do. So even back then, back in the early days of the show, I was trying to cultivate what the ultimate live show would be like. And to me, I always imagined it feeling like a Universal Studios ride, like an amusement park ride, like an immersive the Terminator 2 ride, where you're like, there's a good guy and there's a bad guy and they're yay and boo, or like wrestling or something like that, but it's all like smoke and evil and and then comedy and then just brutality in the music and all that stuff. So I thought, how can you whip that all into the same place and ultimately deliver a show that entertains the living hell out of people? How can I do that? How can I do that? And so it's a lot of like forward engineering and thinking and knowing that I'd be doing it now in 2024, that's something I didn't think I'd be doing, but knowing that it was possible to do it, the answer was yes, I see that it's possible. It's just going to be a meticulous, complicated nightmare. But that's what all of this stuff is. And it's worth it. Like learning guitar is a complicated, meticulous nightmare, but it's worth it because you love it. So all that stuff kind of went into the same kind of pot. Like, how do you do this? How do you do this? Well, here's what I don't want. And here's what I do want. And you start kind of trying to figure out how to achieve the stuff you do want and trying to like, okay, if we're going to play the picture, how are we going to make that work? So we probably have to like basically program like edit like a drum programmer would, like just like cutting to like my editors would have to be musical and I have to have someone where I go, hey, you know where the snare is? I want to see a flash of light there. See where this kick drums are. I want them represented visually. Let's talk about this. Let's get meticulous about every single thing. How do we keep the time together? So we'd have to put a click track and run that through to Gene Hoglan's headset and be able to play in lockstep. Every downbeat coincides with the cut. Everything has to be in total synergy. And and the idea is, how do we achieve that so we can stop on a dime and start and really just perform something that kind of feels like a magic trick. And that's what the fun of this live show really is.
Man, well, I'm so excited for people around here to see it. For anybody who's never watched any of the videos online of what the Dethklok live show.
Yeah, I'd say don't watch any, just go to the show and discover it because my idea is always, how can I make this show stand on its own? How can I make the record stand on their own? And how can I make this live endeavor stand on its own? And I think we just got off the road with Babymetal on a really big tour, and it was really fun. So now we're going into like deeper into America and saying hello to everybody there. And off of that tour, this is just the response we've gotten has been really, really great. And like I said, I think don't spoil it for yourself. Don't go online. Just be there. Go and check out the show because whether or not you love heavy metal or comedy or cartoons, I think you're going to find this incredibly entertaining and you're going to get your money's worth because we put on a really fun show.
And I think a lot of people, if they've only maybe heard the music or something and have never been to an extreme metal show, I've always tried to tell the listeners that I think the friendliest crowds are the extreme metal shows. I mean, we're all a bunch of nerds, man. It's everybody. You get into a pit. If you fall down, somebody's going to help you out.
Someone's going to help you up. I agree. It really is. I think you're right. Some people can be scared by this. And the truth is, if you've gone, you realize it's probably the safest place on earth because you're with, all of a sudden, you're just in the club. You know, all you have to do is buy a ticket and you're in the club. And there's nothing like the energy of an extreme metal show. Go see Cannibal Corpse. Oh my God, it's so exciting. It's so exciting. Go see Maiden. It's so exciting. Go see anybody, you know. But yeah, the places where it's treacherous are like Gen Pop shows that are like, you know, you'll get your ass kicked at a Jimmy Buffett show, you know. Rest in
Totally,
peace.
man.
All due respect. But yeah, you at a metal show, you'll get protected.
Totally. And what
Yeah.
a fun lineup for this one. I mean, first off, this is definitely the heaviest show that's come to this venue. It's a new arena that opened up here a couple years ago.
Yeah.
We've had some fairly heavy shows, but when I saw this one announced, I mean, for one to see Dethklok was coming was amazing. But how fun with DragonForce and Nekrogoblikon. I mean, you got everything.
You got everything. You got dragons, you got goblins, you got Dethklok. What else do you need? That's my question. Yeah, I mean, the other thing is that when we think about these shows, because we went out with Babymetal, and Babymetal is doing what we're doing. We're taking extreme music and trying to be as entertaining as we possibly can. Theirs is a different faction of that. Ours is more brutal and funnier, but theirs is glorious. It's wonderful what they're doing. And so I thought, how can we continue that fun, that kind of fun feeling of entertainment? And DragonForce brings it. Nekrogoblikon, if you haven't seen their videos, they're so much fun. In fact, I got to direct one of their videos, which is
Yeah.
really cool. Yeah. So there's a song called Dressed as Goblins, and it's just like a really fun excuse to play with practical effects. And it's a really fun excuse to do, you know, how much visual storytelling can you do with no dialogue, with and just follow a story inside of a thing. So that's a really fun challenge, and that's why I really was excited to you know, collaborate with Nekrogoblikon on that. And here we are on tour together.
Yeah, amazing lineup. I'm just so stoked. You know, between that show getting announced and then we've also got Primus coming. I'm like, we're being so spoiled for East Idaho for just
Nice. Yeah.
fun shows. And as a like guitar player and music nerd, I mean,
Yeah.
you guys rolling in Dragon Force,
Yeah.
Goblikon, they can lay it down as well.
I mean, look, I love guitar, and heavy metal is a celebration of guitar, and these bands are a celebration of guitar too. So playing, you know, being able to share the stage with those intensely great musicians is going to be so much fun. There's going to be so much guitar playing, and it's all treacherous and scary and fun. And yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to watch them just crush it every single night, you know?
Well, I wanted to be able to tell you, man, as a guitar player, I love your riffs. One of the first things I did as a program director here, you know, about a decade ago, we had this air guitar competition we did at the state fair. And so for the final round, we're like, we need something real crazy, you know, for these guys to come out and they don't know what we're going to pick for a song. You know, you generally want to pick a clip or something. And I was like, well, we don't need a clip. We have the Duncan Hills coffee jingle. And blasting that like 12 times through the PA at the fair over and over to, you know, every type
That's
of.
awesome.
It's just so amazing, man.
That's really cool. That's a fun one too. Well, that's from the very first episode of the show too. You know, it really is. And you know, we just might be playing that one that night, and it's got such a fun twin guitar solo. And I'm playing with Nili Brosh, and she is an amazing guitar player. And so we're doing a lot of fun, treacherous harmonies throughout the entire night. So we have a lot of just like bells and whistles and pockets. And like I said, it's more like magic tricks just kind of happening through the smoke and the flashing lights and all the crazy animation and stuff. So it's a really fun. The way I describe our show, like if you're playing on stage with us, it's like storming the beach at Normandy during a laser tag battle. That's what it feels like.
Well, and you know, the show's kind of driven, like you said, by animation and stuff. You know, looks like the lighting's pretty subdued on the players on stage. Do you find it difficult as a guitar player? Because you guys play really technical stuff. Is there any of the stuff that gets to be a bit challenging under those
It's
conditions?
all challenging. I can't believe that. Like, I mean, it's a really great brain puzzle. That's what I think. Is because I'm doing vocals and I've got to have air and I've got to have like tight, you know, like core and all that stuff, and then I got to play this guitar, and there's downstrokes which are treacherous. And then there's a lot of just like, you know, so basically I think it's like a combination of using a sledgehammer and hitting and then doing surgery with forceps at the same time. So you have to like constantly be going back and forth. In fact, there's like a changeover in the set where I play with a guitar that's lower because it's easier to get downstrokes going with the longer arms stretched, not hiked up where you're getting all this extra muscle tightness that you don't need. And
Yeah.
then as the show goes on, I move to a higher guitar where I'm playing more crazy fast stuff. And that's like it's a natural kind of like progression to the shreddier stuff as the night goes on. So I think about all that stuff. And yes, we're in the dark. So when we're rehearsing this week, we turn the lights off and we
Yeah.
go, let's see what we can do, how much we can get away with. Because remember, you're not going to be able to see anything on stage. And like I said, we're shadows on stage, and we're meant to be kind of somewhat observed by the people who want to get close enough and watch our fingers and everything, but we're also meant to kind of disappear. We're meant to sound exactly like Dethklok, not to look like Dethklok. In fact, I always like to say I'm bad for the brand. You shouldn't even be looking at me. I'm more of like a brain in a jar. That's where I'm happiest. So like I'm in kind of this perfect sweet spot for me with my temperament. I am both at the center of the stage and completely in the shadows at the same time. And it's a very exciting show. And I think it's the best use of this entire project. And it's the best way to set it up.
Yeah, no matter what type of music you're into, if you're a musician, I mean, it's one of those shows I think every musician has just got to see. And I think with the addition of DragonForce and Nekrogoblikon, I mean, it's a musician's show as well as, I mean, just anybody who's into fun. It's going to be such a good time.
Yeah, I think it should tickle all those things where if you just like comedy, you're gonna get some laughs. If you just like technical musicianship, you're definitely gonna get technical musicianship. And then ultimately, like I said, I mean, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be like going to a state fair, but inside of, an arena,
Well, May 1st, Hero Arena, Dethklok, DragonForce, Nekrogoblikon. We got the details on the show, links to tickets at our website, kbear.fm. And, as a fan of the show, it was awesome to see the return of the show and the Death Album 4 last year. The way you wrapped up the show with the final, I don't know if you'd call it a movie or.
Yeah, it is a movie. It's a feature-length movie. And in fact, it's funny you bring it up because tonight on Adult Swim, they're airing the entire thing. It's only been available on demand and on physical. And so part of the reason we're doing this whole crazy endeavor is to kind of spread the word of the movie. Army of the Doomstar is what it's called. And it dropped last year during the strike. So it's kind of more exciting for me to be able to talk about it a little bit more now because I couldn't before. And so it's coming out on Adult Swim tonight at midnight. That's the TV version, the censored TV version. And then it drops on Max, on HBO Max on tomorrow, the 6th. And it will live there with the entire library of every single episode, including the Doomstar Requiem, the hour-long rock opera special. So the whole thing will be there, and it will live there from now on. We're just spreading the word. We're being evangelical about Dethklok, making sure and bringing it to your small whatever town you live in. We're just going to keep on spreading the word.
Well, what a way to spend the weekend then, man. The whole series, start to finish. And I got to say, you wrapped it up great. The movie was awesome. The album was great. We played a bunch of the tracks on our metal show. I mean, we played you guys. When I was trying to see if I could chat with you, I told them we're probably the only rock station that plays these guys during the day on regular radio.
Awesome.
But even though, I mean, you ended the show in a perfectly great way. Ever any chance of any more Metalocalypse? Because it's just so glorious.
I get that question a lot, it's really funny because the most important thing for me to do was to kind of finish the story that started in episode 1, where that same coffee jingle was, that kind of confrontation between this kind of tribunal and this band, this kind of like these group of idiots who just don't know what their purpose is necessarily. And you watch them finally kind of become what they need to be at the end of this whole thing. So yeah, that was the most important thing because I did not want to have that lingering because I think TV shows they only really make sense if you can really land the last episode, I think, I always think about the British Office, if you ever saw that. didn't have a lot of episodes, but the last episode really kind of solidifies the main character's journey. So as a TV writer, I'm always thinking about those kinds of things, and I really needed this opportunity to complete this. But can Dethklok have adventures beyond this? It's a possibility. It's a possibility. They just needed to do. They just really needed to wrap up the story that was being told in the first episode of Metalocalypse.
And I'm so happy you were able to do so, because I kind of thought, I mean, it was such a big gap between the Doomstar Requiem and that. I thought, well, that's probably what we're going to get, which was fine. We got a lot of Metalocalypse, but it was such a nice surprise last year when all that was announced.
Yeah.
And then I guess just quick before we go, as a fan of, home movies, which you did before Metalocalypse, aside from touring, any other plans for you in the creative world?
Yeah, it's funny. I've always, my job is to be creative. I've decided to kind of make that what I do with my life, and it's like guitar playing. Whether or not I'm getting paid to do it, I'm doing it anyway. And usually, I'm always in some kind of a deal with somebody, and I'm usually writing and working on something. I usually can't talk about it, but I usually have something, and then right now is no different. And then the other thing I think that you'll probably see more from me as I go on is I'm really interested in the feature thing. Was something I really, really wanted to do, and that's where my head's always been. And I want to keep working in the feature world, and I really like working with music and features. And so the idea is music, features, and probably a lot more live action involved, but I'll never stop doing animation at the same time. So what can I do that I haven't done that's really exciting, that gets you excited too, is the question. So that's kind of where my head's at. And I've got a few projects that are all in that world right now that I am writing and hoping to do more directing and all that stuff, because that's seriously, I've created the ultimate dream job for myself, where I get to be funny, I get to play guitar, and I get to go on tour. How can I continue creating things that allow me to play in all of those same worlds, all those different worlds that are ultimately, I think, the same thing? Because writing, doing stand-up, directing, it's all a guitar as far as I'm concerned. You just have to kind of learn where the frets are and how to work the pick. You just have to kind of figure out how to do it all, but it's all ultimately the same thing. Everything's in an aid of storytelling.
Hell yeah, man. Well, I can't wait to see what's to come next. Very excited to see you play live here. I hope everything goes well on the tour on your way, making it to East Idaho. And thanks again for taking a few to chat with me, man. I greatly appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for taking an interest over the years. I really appreciate it. This is the reason we're back, is for guys like you.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I was so stoked today. So stoked.
Awesome.
So I'm sure I probably pushed into somebody else's time now. So
no, I think yeah, actually I should get going, but yeah. Perfect. It's perfect. So thank you very much. I'll see you in Idaho, man.
Hell yeah, man. Looking forward to it. Have a great weekend.
Awesome. I'll see you. Bye.
Yeah.